So, back for another VGC guide, and this time we are looking at Iron Treads. Ground Steel is a brilliant typing. We've seen Excadrill be really good in previous formats. Iron Treads is going to be absolutely fine. It's not that great, unfortunately, because its attack is a bit too low. 112, that's not bad. But the fact that you have to be going for Earthquake / Stomping Tantrum as your ground type coverage is not good for it. Great Tusk gets Headlong Rush. 120 base power move, single target. You get Stomping Tantrum. 75. Obviously sometimes 150, but mostly 75. Not strong enough. It's not going to be able to do the damage it needs to do. That's why I've slapped a Choice Band onto the Iron Tread, so that it can actually do okay damage, but 112 is a little bit too low. The speed is cool. 106 speed is quite unique. Outspeeding Pawmot is going to be somewhat significant, although Pawmots are probably going to disappear somewhat as Iron Hands reappears. But yeah, it's just a bit too weak. If it had something like Headlong Rush, or even just a stronger single target move as opposed to Stomping Tantrum, it would probably be a bit more usable. But it's going to be fine. It's probably going to be a 6th Mon if you really, really need a ground type and a steel type. I've also got Heavy Slam over Iron Head, because if you are putting Iron Treads onto your team, you need to be able to beat fairies. Most fairies are pretty light, so Heavy Slam will be able to be 120 base power against all the things you would want to be heavy slamming, or want to be steel moving, I should say. Like Sylveon, 120 base power, because Iron Treads is reasonably heavy, it's 200 and something kilograms, so it's pretty heavy. Not the heaviest, but heavy enough. Heavy enough so that Heavy Slam can still do a lot of damage, and it will still be 80 against a reasonable amount of Pokemon, and that's as strong as Iron Head would be. So Heavy Slam is surely the way to go for Iron Treads, because it's the best way for it to actually do damage. It will be 120 against a reasonable amount of things, and there comes the damage. So Steel-wise is the sentence I'm going for. Steel-wise is going to be fine. Ground, not so much. Earthquake is obviously an absolutely fine move. I'd say absolutely fine. It's a brilliant move, but it's a bit too weak because it spreads. So that's the only downfall of Iron Treads. It's got Ice Spinner as the coverage as well. So Ice, Ground, and Steel, very, very solid coverage for sure. But yeah, it's a bit too weak. The special defense investment is so that you can survive a Specs Flutter main Shadow Ball, and then it's dumped into attack after being max speed, because you want to outspeed Pawmots, because that's kind of the niche you have as well. So yeah, Ground Terror type, so that you can make up for the fact that you're not so strong with your Earthquakes and Stomping Tantrums. You could justifiably go for Steel, so that your strongest attack, theoretically strongest attack in Heavy Slam, is going to be doing the most amount of damage as well. But either is fine. It should be stabs on these. Also, its special defense is not that great, so patching up with an Assault Vest would be absolutely fine as well. Just keep in mind that this actual attack stat here, it's kind of low. So it's not going to be doing as much damage as you would expect it to do. Without a Choice Band, you 3-shot an Iron Hands with your ground type moves. I know Iron Hands is ridiculously bulky, but that's just to show you there. 3-shot on a super effective hit. So yeah, not that strong. That's going to be the downside of it. So you can go with something like this. Then you don't actually care that you don't have much attack, because you've got great defense. So you can make use of it with Iron Defense Body Press. It's got no reliable recovery, so it would have to be lefties, but Pokemon have made use of that in the past. You still get the coverage of Heavy Slam, which is very good coverage with fighting. Steel and Fighting is very good coverage, so the coverage is absolutely fine for this. So entirely reasonable to go with this. I would recommend Water as your Terra typing. If you're going for a Body Press Iron Defense, you want defensive. Obviously, you can go for Fighting if you do want to get that stab on the Body Press, but generally, with these kind of sets, you want the defensive one, so Water would be absolutely fine. Obviously, Grass and all that would be good as well, but Water's probably the one I would recommend the most. So just an alternative way to run Iron Treads. Choice Band is probably the best way to do it, because like I said, you're putting it on your team to deal with fairies. So you need to be able to OHKO the fairies, and Choice Band Heavy Slam will do that. But in terms of being a ground type, probably should be Great Tusk.